Trump's fireworks extravaganza as the left rages over our 250th birthday. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Delayed by thunderstorms, you might have missed Trump's insane fireworks show on Saturday night in Washington. It finally got underway around midnight. More than 850,000 fireworks set off in less than 40 minutes. Think about how much power, how much energy that is in all of those fireworks. It was a tremendous spectacle. And aside from violent summer storms, another problem became smoke. As you can see here, the thick, swampy D.C. humidity, that air made it tough to clear the air so the audience could see the massive finale. Here's some of the best video of an incredible show. Something else, again, just in case you missed it, because it didn't go on until about 12 o'clock at night. Just prior to that show, though, the president spoke on our 250th, reminding us all how lucky we are, how special this place really is.
Americans must never forget that we are a historic and heroic people. We are made the courage and the fire and the flesh and the blood of the best and the bravest people this world has ever produced. Over 250 years, the world has seen the great empires, vast kingdoms, mighty nations, and terrible tyrants. They came and they went. But after 2.5 centuries, this American republic still stands tall and strong.
So a look at just some of what we saw on that night. The president, during his speech, also pressed on the creep of Marxism into this great country. Take a listen.
They were the greatest power of the world, and they surrendered, and that was the beginning. Ever since, the entire world has been on notice that Americans will never let anyone take our freedom away. America will never be a communist country. Won't happen. Communism is a loser, and it always will be. The communist system is the opposite of the American system, and the communist system has never worked. Our warriors did not fight communism on battlefields across the world, only to have that menace rear its ugly head right back here in America.
All right, so the president there obviously eyeing recent Democrat primaries where Marxist candidates are cleaning up, especially in places like New York and even in Colorado. Candidates who quite clearly have stated their hatred for our country, for the way this country is run. They are the fashionable choice to lead the Democrat Party into the future. Zoran Mamdani endorsed 3 of these candidates, and on Friday, the New York mayor had the audacity to speak from City Hall while he was seated at George Washington's desk. How insulting is that image? And of course, they managed to find 2 women with their hair covered to throw a little Islam into the mix, because that's exactly what they want you to see. George Washington's desk. Within a matter of minutes, his message to America's largest city on the country's 250th birthday turned into a slandering of our country's foundation and a tremendous gaslight on immigration. Take a look.
Each of these new arrivals peered through portholes onto a city that was changing as fast as the nation. They saw merchants peddling their wares on the docks, streets being laid out on a grid, buildings rising into the clouds. They could not yet see the nativism they would face, the jobs they would be refused, the landlords who would not rent to them, and the abject labor and living conditions they would withstand. There is a term so often used to describe our nation and those who have shaped it: American exceptionalism. The irony is that the story of America has so often been written by those who were told by others with power and influence and wealth that they were anything but exceptional.
Anything but exceptional, says the mayor of New York. And in true form, he once again shows that he is a champion of everybody that's not an American, because that's the left today, right? Champions of everyone that's not here, not producing, not performing, showing his disdain for the country in its actual form, painting immigrants as perpetual victims of an oppressive society, as he, in this oppressive society, a Ugandan who's never had a job, has ascended to running our largest city. They actually can get away with making these ridiculous claims despite looking in the mirror at what he is. How the hell does this guy run our city? I don't know. But if there's one thing that doesn't explain it, it's some kind of oppression. And by the way, running it into the ground, really. Mamdani lambasts our current enforcement of immigration laws in this speech, pretending there's something distasteful about objecting to open borders in a first world wealthy nation with a massive welfare system. This is not 1850. America is not the Wild West. It's not a sink or swim, claim your stake nation. It is now an overgoverned nanny state. And the third world is pushing its way into our country rapidly, seeing all the free money that this ridiculous government hands out. And Mamdani and the communists want that flood to overwhelm the system. So they're pushing it as hard as they can. Bring as many as you can here, flood it, destroy it, anything that will destroy this country, destroy what it is, so they can hijack all the money and try their failed experiment again for the umpteenth time. And so they destabilize with their policies and with their words.
America, in their view, is an arena of supremacy, where only a select few are allowed freedom, where not all are created equal. America, if you ask them, becomes less the more people it welcomes. America, they will tell you, belongs only to those with the right accent or the right shade of skin. The rest of us, they insist, should be grateful for merely being allowed to visit. How small they are, how weak, how unoriginal.
Small, weak, unoriginal. If you don't want to fill your country with the third world, you are small, weak, and unoriginal. Race baiting, of course, guilting white liberals into voting for the decimation of the fabric of their country. Calling you racist if you don't want migration from places where 80% of the arrivals find themselves needing perpetual and endless welfare. If you don't want that, if you don't want to adopt the rest of the world, you're a bad person. You are a racist, says Zoran Mamdani. He doesn't really believe it, but he knows that that's what he needs to perpetuate in order to destroy the country. Meanwhile, Mamdani's wife shows us who they really are, because Mamdani's just acting. We know that. We know who he is. His wife shows us all the time. She spent her 4th of July on our country's 250th birthday at an Islamic retreat on the Spanish island of Majorca. That's the mayor's wife, while he lectures you about how awful your country is, a country that lets him lead our biggest city. Dean Cain, host of the new podcast Homeland, joins us now. Julia Friedland, spokesperson for the Freedom 250, or for Freedom 250, the group behind Trump's America 250 celebration. Good to have you both here. Dean, imagine telling the founders all those years ago that a Ugandan mayor of New York would spit on this country from George Washington's desk on our 250th birthday. What do you think they would have thought?
Well, first of all, George Washington himself would be turning over in his grave. It's disgusting. And you know, our education system, Rob, is failing us, because that speech was a joke and it should be laughed at and ridiculed like crazy. People need to study history, and teachers here in this country need to teach it. This guy is a communist, Marxist, socialist, Nepo baby who just wants more and more government. Americans want less. That's what we were founded upon. It's a slap in the face as we celebrate 250 years as the greatest nation in the history of civilization. So it made me sick. You're right. He's an actor. He's not he actually is a pretty decent actor. But his wife taking off and going to Majorca is a perfect example of what he really thinks. You nailed it with your opening.
You're right. His talent is as an actor. That's what they all are now, and the decent ones can get into political positions. Julia, you helped put together the successful America 250 event Saturday. I want to take a listen to a characterization of it by Chuck Todd, who used to host Meet the Press before he got fired.
Trump's doing all of us a favor by selfishly trying to steal this anniversary from us. We now see who he really is. So no, it's not the celebration we deserve. It's not the one we could have had. Donald Trump has absolutely sullied the brand of America. I feel betrayed as an American by him on this. And this is why I'm so pissed off. Not because I love the country less, but because I love the idea of America enough to resent seeing it cheapened by this man. America deserved better at 250.
So, Julie, I'm trying to figure out where the frustration lies. I mean, what have we seen from the president in the as we've advanced toward this moment? We've seen him clean up Washington, D.C. dramatically, reduce the crime dramatically, which has saved lives. He's polished up all the marble, and he put on a huge fireworks show and gave us an event like we saw over the weekend. Why the fury?
I don't know. Only a truly miserable person would find problems with that. It was truly electric, the president's address. He called Gold Star families, gave them a special shout out. He said that communist is terrible, which it is. And he also talked a lot about his achievements in office. Like you said, cleaned up Washington, threw America the best birthday party ever. For 250 years on this, to be a country 250 years around for that long,
right.
Communism has no place. And he put on a spectacular show.
Yeah, boys, you all did a great job. Dean, I want to show this because I'm still a Spencer Pratt fan, as disappointing as the LA election was. Listen to this slamming Zoran Mamdani.
We all had to sit and watch that vile commie mayor sit on the wrong side of our founding fathers' desk to try and lecture us about our own history. Notice how the communist always attacks your history. The communist must attack your history. Why? Because history is what anchors you. It's what makes us attached to something. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. History breeds an almost irrational attachment to things, an attachment that is more powerful than anyone can imagine. Erasing history is how you demoralize people, how you unmoor them and detach them from their society so you can take it from them and rewrite it in your image.
I'll tell you what, the guy could be a TV host. Dean, I'll show you that, and I'll also just show you that at this point you have more Democrat voters in this country with a positive view of the Black Lives Matter flag than they do of the American flag. Go ahead, Dean.
Idiots.
Yeah.
That's it. Absolute idiots. That's the dumbest thing in the world. The fact that they believe that the BLM movement was completely a joke. Those people just took all the money and ran, which is a perfect example of what Zoran Mamdani is going to do. Spencer, well said. Good on you. He was dead on. And as an ICE agent, it makes me sick to my stomach that he decided to go ahead and go after ICE, go after immigration. I mean, it's insane what he's saying. America is certainly not perfect. We know that, but we're always striving for a more perfect union. And that's the reason everyone's clamoring to get here.
Yeah, right? Find me the perfect country for everybody complaining, by the way. Just show me that one. Dean Cain, Julia Friedland. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Thanks, guys. Good to see you both. All right, it looks like Graham Platner is finally at the end of the road. It appears tonight the endorsements are fleeing. Another major scandal for the baggage-ridden Maine Senate candidate has just dropped. Platner now facing accusations of rape by an ex-girlfriend named Jenny Rassicott, who told Politico in 2021 he entered her home in rural Maine uninvited and drunk, raping her while she repeatedly told him to stop, cutting off contact with him after telling him it was not consensual. She was actually on CNN, the alleged victim here, with Jake Tapper just about an hour and a half ago. Take a look.
He had kind of jumped on top of me and indicated that he had intentions that were sexual in nature. And I remember just at first being like, hey, I'm not into this. I could smell alcohol and I was like, this is different. He is heavily intoxicated. I don't believe that you can think that that scenario was consensual. You have to understand that that wasn't. When somebody is repeatedly, when somebody in the middle of it says, don't touch me, that's obviously not consensual.
All right, so there you have it, her own words there. Rassicott was actually one of the women who came forward in the New York Times bombshell the last time we did a round with Graham Platner here. She and several other women accused Platner of abusive and unsettling behavior, and we had that on top of the fact that he had a Nazi tattoo branded on his chest for years. She says she withheld these details at the time because she didn't want to be known as a rape victim. She's now changed her mind. Platner responding in a recorded video this afternoon.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false. Regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful of the political reality it will inflict, we are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward for the state that I love, the people that I love, the movement I belong to, and the goal of defeating Susan Collins.
Yeah, well, Jim Deyermond is the chairman of the Maine GOP. He joins us now. Jim, it sounds like this is the end of the road. Ro Khanna has pulled the endorsement. Schumer has now told him to drop out. He's canceling events. What's your take?
It looks like we've seen the end of candidate Platner. Hopefully we have. I'm going to say the meteoric rise is soon to be a crash and burn here in Maine, and thank goodness it will be.
It's honestly interesting that, we've seen so much already, and he was bulletproof. But at the end of the day, what we know about the Democrat Party is without women, they'll never win an election. So now it becomes a women's issue when it becomes the allegation of rape. But what's surreal to me is that he was able to survive a tattoo that was the brand of the Nazis that were killing the innocent in the war. He branded that on his chest and wore it proudly for a very long time, and that was accepted. But an allegation of rape is what takes it to the level where he is no longer acceptable. That's very bizarre to me.
Well, we knew these things were coming out for a while, but his tattoo should have been the point where everyone had taken a step back, and they didn't. The Democrats here have no break. They should have realized what was going on and done their due diligence to investigate this guy. I'm sorry to say, I think it's time for him to switch out his tattoo, and maybe it's time to put a Hindenburg on his chest on the other side, because I think we've seen the end. Fiery crash, and it's damn time.
Right. I mean, they only have a matter of days. I think like a week left before they can pull him out. So there's enough time to get him out.
July 13th.
July 13th. That's a week away. So they'll replace him with somebody. Susan Collins looks like the strongest bet ever now, because she's going to be just the reliable senator that's been there for a long time in the general election in November. Who do they replace him with? What do you think happens here?
There's a few people standing in the wings, but it's the same people that you keep running over again. They just switch hats. They run for this, they run for that. So, I mean, it's even talk of Governor Mills dusting off her campaign and coming out. I don't see that happening. Yeah. And there's a whole lineup of people, but I think at this time, they're all looking at each other, maybe asking, maybe somebody else. It's not something I want to do right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it seems like this will actually be the end of the road for Graham Platner. What a wild story this has been, and Susan Collins in the Senate, the GOP Senate, looking like better chances to hold in November. Good to see you, Jim Deyermond. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Trump clears the way for our star to play tonight against Belgium in the World Cup. Former U.S. men's national team player Jonathan Bornstein on the big call to FIFA, coming up next. And then later in News from the Left, a Democrat staffer goes to Iran to cry and mourn the Ayatollah at his funeral.
He was the greatest anti-imperialist leader to have lived during my lifetime.
You're a proud American in the land of the free. But how do you feel about things right now? Are you thriving or just surviving? What's lifting you up? What's dragging you down? What issues matter to you most? Your voice and your vote is your power. Use that power and share your story with us. The voice of the voter. Newsmax is listening. Visit newsmax.com/voice of the voter.
New Cologuard Plus?
Yep.
Colon cancer screening delivered to your door?
Check.
No prep?
Check.
Non-invasive?
Checkity check, check. And it detects 95% of colon cancer, similar to colonoscopy.
Checkity check.
The Cologuard Plus test is for people 45 plus at average risk. False positive and negative results may occur, not for those at high risk. Introducing Cologuard Plus. It's the box that checks all the boxes for screening. Ask your provider or request Cologuard Plus online.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. RoofMax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free roof tune-up with your RoofMax restoration.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court. For your free legal consultation, call 1-800-306-1979. That's 1-800-306-1979.
There's no way a mouthwash can prevent bad breath for 12 hours.
You're right, Bill. Mouthwash can't, but this is dentist-developed Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash.
Activated?
Yeah, if your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. See, this plus this activate for 12 hours of bad breath prevention, guaranteed. Try it. You won't have bad breath in the morning. Good night, Bill.
Get dentist-developed Smart Mouth today. It's the smarter mouthwash, available at these fine retailers.
Anybody who's struggling with alcohol should try Or Health. Within a week, the cravings were completely gone. Or Health is safe, science-backed, and it works. I couldn't believe how easy it was. Alcohol doesn't run my life anymore.
Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
All right, welcome back. The president made a big phone call, and it appeared it has worked. FIFA has officially overturned a ridiculous red card that was given to U.S. soccer star Florin Balogun just in time for our big match tonight against Belgium. He will play. The world's governing soccer body dismissing Belgium's appeal to stop Balogun from being on the field tonight. Europe's top soccer organization stating, "We express our disbelief at such an unprecedented, incomprehensible, and unjustifiable decision." So the Europeans are very angry about this, obviously. It all started when Balogun was given a red card, not even a yellow, but a red card for this accidental collision in a game against Bosnia recently. No foul was initially called. The red card came after it was seen in slow motion. United States Soccer Federation then appealing the decision to FIFA's independent disciplinary committee. U.S. soccer attorneys were involved, as were White House attorneys, going all the way up to the president, as we said, who reached out to the president, Gianni Infantino, personally. Trump described that call today.
I asked for a review because I didn't think it was a foul. I thought it was two great athletes that crashed into each other and got entangled. That was not a guy punching somebody in the face or anything that, would be different. If they wouldn't allow, a top player, maybe the best, maybe among the best players on the team to play, I think it would have had a big stain. And you want to see a game with your best players. I think the referee's call was horrible. And nobody talks about that. But then I looked at his past, and it wasn't so great.
He talked about that for a few minutes today. There is actually already precedent for FIFA overturning red card decisions, as much as everyone's so upset about this. Cristiano Ronaldo, had a 3-game ban reduced to a 1-game suspension for a red card leading up to this very same World Cup. With that, we bring in Jonathan Bornstein, former U.S. men's national team player. John, good to see you tonight. So was it the right move to reverse this thing, as FIFA has done?
Well, thank you, Rob, for having me on the show. Always a pleasure to be able to talk World Cup, especially nowadays. And as we lead up very close to now the U.S. actually taking the field.
Yeah.
But I do think that the call or the decision that was made by FIFA is a just one. As you mentioned just now, there is precedent for these type of things to happen.
Yeah.
FIFA is its own entity, and they make decisions based off of their judgments and their ability to be able to make a call like this. And so I think as soccer players, more than anything, you just want consistency within the calls that are happening on a field.
Yeah.
We saw a very similar action from Messi in his first game that could have warranted a red card, didn't even get reviewed. And then they go on and review this Balogun mishap, with zero intention, under a microscope, and give a red card, right? So I think it's fair for them to have made this decision.
Yeah, did it seem like a ridiculous red card from the start? Did it seem to you, honestly, when you look at it, do you see that he had any intention whatsoever to try and cause injury or to intentionally foul? It just seemed like, as the president, it seemed like they just got tangled up.
Yeah, I think it was one of those plays where you got kind of both guys get caught hitting each other in the air, and then obviously when you come down, your feet can land in different places, right? Yeah. And Balogun's foot just happened to land in a very bad position on the guy's foot, and I don't think there was any malicious intent. And for it to go to then VAR when it wasn't even called in real time, it's pretty harsh, right? And so I think that was the controversy that was created because of all this, just the way that the situation was handled from both the referees and then now from FIFA.
The Belgians are threatening the U.S. after FIFA threw out their appeal, stating that they reserve all options if Balogun starts tonight. What does that mean? What do you take that to mean?
I mean, I don't really understand what that means. I would say if they're talking on the soccer side of the things, right, they're reserving their option to be able to move players or tactically make adjustments. From the opposite side of trying to get out of the game or something, I don't think there's precedent for that. But we'll have to wait and see once the game starts to see what exactly that type of statement means from Belgium.
Right. It starts in about a half hour. I want to ask just what your prediction is tonight and how good is the American team? How deep do you think we can go?
Well, first, I think we're going to win this game for sure. I'm throwing out a scoreline of 2-1. I think Belgium has a good attack. And so they're going to be able to get one. But I think our team is playing at a level that we've never been able to play before. Mauricio Pochettino has the team firing on all cylinders.
Okay.
And so I would like to see this team make it to the semifinals at least, if not give our chance to, maybe have another miracle on grass this time to win a World Cup. So, yeah.
All right. That's a good prediction. Jonathan Bornstein from the men's team, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate it as well, Rob. Have a good one.
So the next time a Democrat tries to talk about affordability, laugh in their face. A new study on how much open borders really cost this country. It is amazing, and it's up next. The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
My dad had never been in better shape. Then he had a stroke and passed away. But he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still taking care of us. Ethos.com, 10 minutes, 100% online.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Most investors believe their IRA, 401k, and bank accounts are reliable and safe. But what if our economy becomes so dire that you're restricted from accessing your own money? The fact is that should your bank be in trouble for holding bad loans, the burden could fall on you to help bail them out. Even more concerning is that U.S. financial regulations allow banks to impose withdrawal limits on your hard-earned savings. But there's something you can do about it. Our team at Swiss America has a report called The Secret War on Cash. Learn how to protect yourself with assets that can remain outside the control of banks and other financial institutions. For over 40 years, Swiss America has been one of the most trusted metal firms in the country. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these uncertain times.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Almost half of women runners say safety is their biggest concern. Majority of us have to constantly change routes, start times.
Instead of thinking of my pace, we worry about being followed, unwanted attention, and stuff that is simply scary.
Imagine this banana was a less lethal device, capable of incapacitating an attacker, letting you get to safety. At Byrna, we don't sell bananas. Go to Berna.com to find how you can always safely make it to the finish line.
A choking death occurs every 2 hours. One child dies from choking every 5 days, and most of those children are under 3. When choking happens, time is of the essence in homes, on the street, and in restaurants, everywhere. It's the first in class and only FDA-authorized anti-choking device as a second-line treatment. You can trust LifeVac in a choking emergency. Please protect your family today. LifeVac will be there when it matters most.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
We've got a real problem with housing, and it's got no easy fix from the federal government.
It's clear reform is needed when it comes to housing.
Rents too high, homes are too expensive, and for too long, the federal government totally asleep at the switch.
We've got to make life more affordable for the American people in terms of housing.
The American people are counting on us to make life more affordable, and lowering housing costs is absolutely essential to that effort.
It is so hysterical to listen to these people try and talk about affordability, a disaster that they created. And here's the proof. A new report from the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas shows that Biden's open borders and the migrant surge that we saw for 4 years triggered a 30% total growth in home prices. 30% is attributed in Dallas to the surge at the border that Biden welcomed in. Yes. 20% of total growth in rents as well in the average metropolitan area between spring 21 and spring of 24. Democrats created this cost of living disaster and now are running on the idea that they can fix it. That's politics. Since the start of this election year, Schumer and the Democrats have been on an affordability housing blitz. It is laughable. Alex Marlow, editor of Breitbart, joins us now. Chad Wolf, former head of Homeland Security. Good to have you both here. Chad, just one more, as if we needed another one more disastrous consequence of what they did to the border for 4 years is the fact that nobody can afford a house.
Well, that's exactly right. And we talked about this. We've been talking about this for over the last several years, that the consequences of what Joe Biden and his administration did for 4 years is not just the illegality along that border and sort of the crime, the cartels and all of that, but it's the downstream consequences in housing, education, and all these other sectors of what happens when you have millions of individuals pour into this country unchecked, unvetted. This is the consequence of that. And look, the American people aren't stupid. They saw this in real time. They know this. We just now have, accomplished individuals writing a report saying this and laying out the facts. But the American people know that housing went up because you had millions, 7 to 11 million individuals come across that border and get put up in hotels and all sorts of things.
Alex, it was surreal that they pretended for so long that this would have no adverse consequence, that you could just dump. I mean, he's saying 7 to 11. I don't know how many there were. The president thinks it could be closer to 15 to 20. But of course, that's going to have an upward surge at the bottom of the housing market. If that's all full, everybody has to move up into something, and you get that pressure.
Yeah, this was all their plan from the start, Rob, and they thought they would get away with it just by calling all of us racist for waving our hands and saying, hey, this is a problem. I wrote a book about Joe Biden. It was a New York Times bestseller called Breaking Biden. I have a whole chapter on his immigration policy. I call it Joe Biden's America, a sanctuary country, because that's how he treated the entire country. He took off those Remain in Mexico agreements, the Northern Triangle agreement, stopped Title 42, stuff Chad helped to put into place, which was terrific. Why did he do this? Because he just detests Republicans and Trump so much. And remember, this isn't just bad for Americans. It's bad for the migrants, too. Their journey's dangerous. It's dirty. It's humiliating unless they want to pay off the cartels. And, of course, it drives down the wages of Americans and drives up our rent.
Yeah. Chad, do you suspect that we'll see some easing? I mean, as this deportation process moves along and as they self-deport as well, do you think that'll calm some of these concerns over prices? I mean, I would have to imagine we're going to feel an impact at some point.
Well, I hope we do. I don't know that it'll be right away, but you should feel that impact. Look, the Trump administration is doing some historic moves here, trying to remove individuals that have come into the country. But the Biden team knows that the hardest part about this entire equation that we're talking about is actually removing people from the country, which in part, I think, is why they let so many in. They knew that once they got here, it'd be very difficult to remove. But that's what the Trump team is doing. And as they do that, hopefully we will see some easing in certain segments that we've seen just a growth in. Again, that paper was based on 7 million coming into the country, as you indicated, Rob. I think that number is much higher.
Yeah. Alex, before I let you go, should Republicans be running on what we just talked about, the idea that their opposition is trying to tell us that they're going to make this country more affordable after creating the disaster that we're in?
Yeah, absolutely. This is always the #1 issue for my audience at Breitbart News because they understand this is a humanitarian crisis. It's also a way to drive up the wages of Americans, drive down the price of housing, is just to make sure that there aren't people who aren't invited who are here.
Right. Yeah, they should take this study and they should take that soundbite of Biden saying that the migrants should surge the border, put them together, and just start making ads out of that and say, yeah, you want things to get cheaper, you're voting for the wrong party. Alex, Marlow, good to see you. Chad Wolf, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Media desperately wants this picture to define our 4th of July.
That, for me, was a defining image of modern America for Black Americans.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is restored. Millions of Americans are tuning in to Newsmax. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific. Watch Newsmax or download our free app on your TV or phone today.
Larry was in a really bad accident and broke his neck in the line of duty.
I get a phone call early one morning from the Tunnel Towers Foundation. Said, we're going to provide you and your family with a smart home. At that time, I almost passed out. I just couldn't believe it.
They heard his story, which means someone's out there listening.
By giving $11 a month, you're joining us on our mission to do good. Go to T2T.org now.
I'm Mr. H. We do not sell Amino 150 on eBay. There's more than 240 counterfeiters offering bogus Amino 150 on eBay. They copied our bottle label, even our website. None of it contains the 70 minerals that made Amino 150 famous. Now, do not purchase on eBay if you want Amino 150 instead of something that may contain talcum powder, baking flour, or ground up dirt. Zero nutritional value. Now, we do sell on Amazon, but be careful because some counterfeiters come on there too. The counterfeit websites look just exactly like ours, so to be safe, I suggest you scan the QR code on the screen or call our toll-free number. Do this so that you can be guaranteed that you're getting the original Amino 150 that contains 70 plant-derived minerals instead of talcum powder or dirt. Thank you, and God bless.
Free yourself from prying eyes. Ask privately with Duck.ai. Visit Duck.ai to chat privately with ChatGPT, Claude, and other AIs for free. All in one place. Duck.ai is from DuckDuckGo, where AI is private and optional.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. Samaritan's Purse is responding to the deadly earthquakes that struck Venezuela on the 24th of June, 2 back-to-back earthquakes. Hundreds and thousands of people have been injured. Thousands of people are missing. The people are hurting. Samaritan's Purse has taken a field hospital. We've got doctors and nurses, and we're responding right now to the people that have lost so much. We've taken water purification. We've taken solar lights, a lot of things. We need your prayers and we need your help. God bless you.
You know, when I came in here, I was at a 15, and that's no joke. My spinal cord was almost severed. I feel like I'm gaining my freedom. My pain level of the day is nothing.
No pain now? No. Okay, feels good? Yep.
And I can feel my legs waking up and getting feeling back in my leg and my foot I haven't had in a year and a half, 2 years. I feel like I'm getting my life back.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
Most people call leaf filter when their gutters are clogged and they notice one of the many issues that can bring. You can get ahead of costly damage by protecting your home's gutters today.
Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
Some images really strike a nerve and are instantly iconic. This feels like one of them.
See that picture? Look at that.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Surrounded by those folks from the Patriot Front.
Alone and brave, a young black girl surrounded by all of these white
masked men.
Just looking at that photo, it really does hit home.
Well, you knew this was coming, right? So they're going to, of course, manufacture the heck out of this picture, right, to help the left destroy our Independence Day. Democrats, the media allies, focused on this group, Patriot Front, one of these right-wing crazy groups. A picture there captured by a Reuters photographer. The center of their fixation, of course, is the black woman sitting safely, by the way, on a D.C. subway among masked Patriot Front members. According to The View, it is the perfect representation. This one crazy group being on a train car is a perfect representation of what it means to be a black woman in America today.
As a black woman, my lived experience in this country was embodied by a photograph that was taken. That, for me, was a defining image of modern America for Black Americans.
That picture is how we feel walking into many rooms, down the street. That picture is how we feel, and nobody will believe us.
There are times when I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy.
She said that that picture is her lived experience as a black woman in America. She is an idiot that gets paid millions of dollars to talk on television. But that photo is her lived experience, not her $10 million house and flights on private jets and all of these things. That photo is her lived experience. A guest on CNN took it even further, claiming Patriot Front members could secretly be the bosses of black employees in their workplaces and could be blocking their promotions.
If you're a black or brown person and you see masked people marching through the streets, first of all, it's very evocative of the Ku Klux Klan movement. They could be your boss today for someone watching, and they have these ideals. You don't know, did you not get that promotion because you weren't competent or because you were black?
Because we're just apparently the whole country is everybody on that train. That's the message that they're trying to inject into our society as they try to destroy our Independence Day. Here's a little more. Take a listen.
Donald Trump's political presence over the last 10 years has given a permission structure for the ugly underbelly of America to become more explicit. I think there has been a permission structure to allow a certain segment of the country to declare that America must remain a white republic.
They can't destroy the country unless they convince you that it needs to be destroyed. So you're going to get this all the time. He questioned why we even celebrate the 4th of July. Minnesota's governor is another brilliant guy, calling the picture from Reuters a haunting image. Media outlets calling it a defining image of America, a defining image of America. Show me the country where African Americans live better than the United States. I'll wait. Elon Musk calling it what it really is, probably just another Southern Poverty Law Center false flag operation. And let's show you a more offensive picture, if we could, on a train. This is that Ukrainian refugee, Irina Zarutska, who was stabbed to death by a repeat offender on Charlotte Light Rail. Her killer was heard saying, "I got that white girl," multiple times as her blood dripped off of his knife. Here's the image of the two of them together. One of them goes home safely. The other does not. Which one offends you more? Amy Robbins is a Newsmax contributor, Ben Ferguson, host of The Ben Ferguson Show. Guys, not that we're surprised, but Ben, what's your take on this?
Yeah, there's two ways to look at this. One is the fact that everybody understands how shocking the picture is, which means it's a great thing that we all realize in America that this is not normal. It's abnormal. It means we've come a long way from the day of the Klansmen, right? The fact that I look at this and I go, these guys suck. And if you're really Billy Bad A showing your muscles as they were doing, then on TV, like for the cameras, then you should show your face. Now, to imply that this is somehow all of America shows you how ignorant the women of The View are, or how desperate they are for ratings. And I guess they have to divide a country to get anybody to watch them so they're relevant, hoping that somebody will put it on social media so they'll know The View even still exists. But I look at this, and to say that the United States of America, this is like your lived world, as you literally are given millions of dollars to give your opinion on The View, That is the definition of hypocrisy. And this is not America. This is a one-off. We know it's a one-off by the way everyone reacts to it. It's not normal.
Amy, you know, it's funny because I don't recall when there are images of psychopaths on the left telling the Jews that they all should die, that Israel should be destroyed. I don't recall that being the defining image, for Jewish people in this country. I don't recall, when Antifa or Black Lives Matter or some other group from the left burns down an entire city, that doesn't define the country. But somehow you get this gang of, white supremacists or whatever they are, this group, this small group, by the way, on a train. You get an image like this, and it defines the entire experiment of America. Amy.
Well, first off, let's go back. I look at this a little bit differently than Ben does. I mean, I look at this as the mainstream media taking the opportunity to take one image of a crowded DC metro and turn it all stories that they talk about from now on into their race baiting fantasies. I mean, go back and look at the actual image. You see this Black woman sitting on this train, very cool, calm, collected. She's not scared. She doesn't look like she's in fear for her life. She's just riding a train. And then CNN and the women on The View had the gall to say that this is dignified terror or the defining image of white supremacy. I mean, the facts of the story are, whether you like this group or not, I mean, they got on the train, they rode it peacefully, they got off, and then they did their march. There was no harassment. There was no violence. There was no incident. The lady was completely fine. So this is not reporting. This is purely manufacturing racial division to fit their narrative.
It certainly is disappointing, Ben, that in this day and age that we have to continue to go through this kind of nonsense. But again, they need a reason to tear the country down as it is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how you raise money. Like this is the Southern Poverty Law Center. Elon Musk is not far off. Like, they literally paid KKK members to go do things and Klansmen to get together and groups like this to exist so that they could then raise money and scream racism. And look, Democrats aren't stupid. They see this as an opportunity. They see a picture. It's a picture that they go, yes, we can raise money off this. We can divide the country off this. We can say that everybody's a white supremacist in this country. And that's how we get a microphone. And let's be clear, these white dudes that did this is like the peaking of their life. So it doesn't get any better for them. Yeah. Like, they've maxed out now. They've accomplished everything they're going to accomplish in their life. Yeah. And if this is all they did was ride a train and wear a mask, I think in America we're doing pretty darn good.
I'd say so, too. Ben Ferguson, Amy Robbins, good to have you both. Thanks so much, guys.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Rob.
Hollywood's latest DEI fiasco. This woman as Helen of Troy in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
I'd be like, so Homer, how do you feel about this screen time given to these women, considering how little you spent with them?
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. Two of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, bill me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
Hi, I'm Sally with sellmypolicy.com, the fast concierge service here to help you sell your life insurance policy for cash now. Our experienced team makes it fast and easy for you to get your offer. Use the money however you want. John sold his policy for $590,000 in cash for health care. And Cheryl sold her policy for $90,000 in cash and used it to supplement her retirement income. If you are over 65 with a life insurance policy of $100,000 of coverage up to $50 million of coverage, then you may qualify. With Sell My Policy, some people choose to sell all or just part of their policy so they can access cash now while also keeping coverage in place for their loved ones. Plus, you'll get paid fast. Trusted by seniors, there's no obligation to sell. Find out what your policy is worth today.
It's fast and free with Sell My Policy. Talk with a policy expert now to see how much cash you could receive. Call 800-910-2274 or visit sellmypolicy.com.
Clients who rolled over their IRAs 2 or 3 years ago have doubled and tripled their retirement accounts. Billionaire Eric Sprott disclosed he has invested 98% of his $3 billion fortune into gold and silver, and said gold's going to $10,000 an ounce. Vanguard and Goldman warned of a lost decade ahead for stocks. Gold's role isn't to make you rich, it's to help you survive what's coming. Aren't these supposed to be your golden years? Call Patriot Gold Group at 1-800-778-4156. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide, home of the America 250 no-fee for life IRA. Call now and see how easy it is to protect your IRA with physical gold and silver. Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
When Conor McGregor fights, you're witnessing something once in a lifetime.
Surprise, surprise, the king is back!
All my life I want money and power.
Oh! Conor McGregor transcended the sport!
Max Holloway!
That's a real warrior! I'm right here! You're in for a treat!
McGregor vs. Holloway, Saturday, July 11th. Free with your subscription, only on Paramount Plus.
I've been in the fitness industry for more than 25 years, and Fatty 15 is a built-in recovery system for your cells. You can't have a healthy outside if you're not taking care of the inside. Try Fatty 15.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring, understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
Your mouthwash routine just got a whole lot smarter. Use SmartMouth Activated Morning Mouthwash with B12 for all-day bad breath prevention, guaranteed. If your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not SmartMouth. Kickstart your morning. Get SmartMouth Activated Mouthwash with B12.
All right, welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Former Democrat activist, a woman named Calla Walsh, previously worked as a volunteer for Liz Warren's presidential campaign, didn't go too far, and for Boston Mayor Michelle Wu's campaign as well. This young lady is as twisted as the young liberal female mind can become. She attended the funeral for the slain Ayatollah of Iran and declared him to be a great anti-imperialist leader.
He was a leader to all people of the world who struggle against imperialism, against arrogance, against Zionism, against genocide. To me, he was the greatest anti-imperialist leader to have lived during my lifetime.
You see how she's got just the hair showing just a little bit? Just that little bit of hair right there, and they probably would have chopped her head off in Iran. So she loves him so much. Well, are you sure about that? Again, this is the distortion of the liberal mind. And for some reason, when women have this affliction, it's so much more dramatically worse. And we're trying to figure out why. We've got doctors working on it here at Newsmax. Next up, U.S. Senator Mark Kelly proudly backing Team Mexico in the World Cup because it's very hip right now among the lefties to not wear the American jersey. Kelly proudly posting pictures of himself smiling while wearing the Team Mexico jersey. He, by the way, represents a border state. So you're on the border of Mexico. Writing on X, lots of people out in Tucson to watch Mexico take on England. Tucson and La Rosa sure know how to do the World Cup. You can wear the American, jersey while you watch the Mexican team, Mark. You can do that. You're allowed to do that. You don't have to follow all the trends of the wokies in your party. Next up, the latest trailer from Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is getting hammered online after being released. It's kind of turned into a counterculture moment with this movie. YouTube metric showing the teaser standing at over 5 million views, 562,000 dislikes, only 65,000 likes. That's not good. Nolan making some controversial decisions with the casting. As you probably know by now, Kenyan actress Lupita Nyong'o is going to play Helen of Troy, who is said to be the most beautiful woman in the world. Here she was, by the way, now that she's been given this tremendous DEI opportunity because Christopher Nolan wants to win an Oscar. She's given this huge role that she didn't earn. And so she responds to that by being annoyingly woke with it and answering a question like this about Homer, the author of the story, insulting him.
I'd be like, so Homer, how do you feel about this screen time given to these women, considering how little you spend with them? Okay.
And then do you lean forward and look at him like that?
Yes, like, remember us?
Oh, yes. Always the victim. What would Hollywood be without victimhood? What would it be? What would all these actresses have without victimhood? Enjoy making $10 million for a role you shouldn't have gotten. We all feel very sorry for you. All right, coming up next, it's time to pull Paul Pelosi's license.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finity, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction the last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
Where's the admission desk at your hospital? You may need it sooner than you think. It's the middle of the night and you, your spouse, or your child is sick, high fever, can't keep anything down, and getting worse. Now you're waiting in the ER, and everyone gets seen before you. And when I finally see you and order prescriptions, you still have to wait for your pharmacy to open and hope they have what I prescribed. This is the medical emergency kit. It's stocked with essential medications, including amoxicillin, generic Z-Pak, and ivermectin. Now you have the right medications when you need them. And it's why I and so many of my colleagues have medical emergency kits. It's like having an urgent care and pharmacy in your home. Just fill out a brief online medical intake and your kit, prescribed by a licensed provider, is shipped to your door. Here's how to order.
Order your kit now and save $45. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news. That's urgentcarekit.com/news.
When I look at this picture, I feel failure. I'm failing my wife, my children, and I'm gonna die soon. I've tried keto, I've tried fasting. I would lose weight and then gain everything back. I needed to do something. I came across LifeMD, signed up, it was extremely simple, and in the first month, I lost 32 pounds. This works, obviously. I'm down 182 pounds in 14 months. It's changed my life. I'm a better husband, a better father. This is the best decision in my entire life.
Get Zepbound, Wegovy, and the new Wegovy pill at the lowest cost with or without insurance at joinlifemd.com.
This Home Depot bestseller is helping homeowners transform their homes in a weekend. Get the look of stone without expensive labor or lengthy installations, and even do it yourself. Most projects take just a few hours. GenStone is Home Depot's top-rated and best-selling faux stone panel system. Trusted by thousands of homeowners nationwide. GenStone's perfect for any flat surface, including foundations, siding, fireplaces, and more. With fast, free delivery in as little as 1 to 2 days, your project can start this weekend. Save on GenStone during this exclusive Home Depot event. Text DEPOT to 59583 and we'll send you a direct link to shop.
Finally tonight, Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, facing hit-and-run charges after smashing his convertible, allegedly, into a parked car in Napa County and then taking off. Witness called 911. This guy cannot drive, saying that Paul smashed his car, a parked car, causing major damage. You can see from the video, there's pretty substantial damage. You would have felt that. Police tracking down Paul Pelosi after his car died on him. So he wrecked it so hard that the car died. He said he thought he might have hit something, but he didn't know what it was, so he just kept on going, the 86-year-old. They say he was completely sober at the time. Alcohol was not believed to be a factor in the incident. Either that or old Nancy gave a stock tip to the cop. I don't know which one it is. Paul has a history of this kind of behavior. He was arrested for DUI back in 2022. We covered that one, a separate crash in Napa Valley. Spent 5 days in jail. In 1957, though, so you're going back, 60, 70 years now, he and his brother decided to take his sports car for a joyride. Brother told him to slow down in the car. Paul did not. The car somersaulted, flipped. He ended up killing his older brother while driving near San Mateo, south of San Francisco. He was cited for manslaughter, later exonerated. No arrest on this one. The hit-and-run investigation still ongoing. Rob Finnerty, these two have more money than God at this point because Nancy Pelosi is such a talented, Paul is such a talented stock picker. I don't know where he gets it. And they don't have a driver?
1957, did you say? Like what?
57.
Wow. He's 86 years old. Paul and Nancy seem like they're truly in love. Like Paul's not running from something or driving from something in this case. Like they just seem like two lovebirds. They're in love. Nancy's going to be retired come January. She'll be with Paul 24/7.
How could you not love the woman that made you the best stock picker in the history of the world?
He does better than the late Bernie Madoff, and Bernie Madoff was actually cheating Paul Pelosi.
I know, right?
Right? And Bernie Madoff was actually cheating.
It was a scam.
Yes.
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 That's a good line.
Bernie must have been like, I don't know what Paul's doing, but he's on to something.
He's on to something.
All right, Rob.
All right.
See you tomorrow. Affinity starts.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.